Joining me now, Jessie Jane Duff. She's a senior fellow with the London Centre for Policy Research. She is also a retired U.S. Marine Corps gunnery sergeant. Jessie, good to have you back on the show with us.
Thank you.
Jessie, the Iranian regime, as we've been discussing, seems to be indicating on the one hand that it's willing to negotiating with the U.S., conflicting reports on the terms and on the conditions, but it does seem like Tehran is moving in the direction of talks. How significant is this?
You know, it's significant that we're seeing some inch-by-inch leveraging that's starting to happen. It gives us a sense of optimism. However, our European allies have got to buckle down and refuse to try to comply with Iran and stand with the United States because essentially, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said, they're continuing to bury their heads like in the 1930s until there will be nuclear weapons falling upon them. This is a great threat upon the world if they get this nuclear capability. So I'm optimistic, but, you know, as far as these negotiations go, you always have to watch Iran because the sleight of hand is always pretty severe.
And at the same time, we have Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei warning that Tehran is going to continue developing its nuclear weapons in violation of the 2015 nuclear deal. Jessie, we know that the Europeans have dismissed Iran's prior violations and as not sufficiently significant to warrant snapback sanctions. Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu accusing the Europeans of taking the same appeasement approach towards Iran that they took towards Nazi Germany. So how do you see the Europeans reacting if the Supreme Leader indeed makes good on that threat and they offer the violations?
Well, I think it really depends upon the United States in this, not upon the Iranian leader. You know, the United States has to give the green light to the European Union. Otherwise, they're going to be drinking from the poisoned water that this Ayatollah is serving to them. They must comply with the United States because their future is more dependent upon a relationship with us, their economy, and their self-defense.
So you're saying that the United States needs to give the Europeans an even harder line between how to choose between the U.S. and Iran? Because the U.S. has already said that European companies can either choose to do business with the U.S. or with Iran. So how much influence does the U.S. have over Europe and its decision to stick with the deal, as it seems adamant on doing?
As long as the United States is providing the defense for Europe as it currently does, they're very much dependent upon what the United States gives them a green light to do. If they decide to do the compliance as we have asked them to do, everything's going to move forward smoothly. But meanwhile, we've got Iran developing new precision-guided missiles. They're taking their surface-to-surface missiles, 100,000 to 150,000 missiles that are surface ground missiles, and they're going to make them precision-guided missiles. What this means is now you can actually direct it to hit the target. They're testing these with the Houthi rebels that have been using these weapons on Saudi Arabia. And when you start realizing that they have these precision missiles, you're now looking at a more sophisticated level of weaponry that can hit targets very precisely, such as Israel, and those in any type of European allies that are within the region or U.S. forces.
Jessie, very quickly, this seizure of a UAE oil tanker in the Gulf. How likely is it that Iran is behind this one?
Well, I'm sorry. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just like I believe that all bad things go right back to Iran. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard basically is the puppet master of all the proxies of destruction in the Middle East. And when we look at that, we know that Iran is connected to all bad things.
Jessie, thank you so much. Jessie Jane Duff.